everyone, Pranshi Verma this side. Welcome back to my channel, guys. In today's session, we are going to discuss official Google Cloud Data Engineer Exam Assessment Test 2021. And today's topic is Chapter 5 Building and Operationalizing Processing Infrastructure. Okay, let's begin the session with first question. First question is a group of data scientists wants to pre-process a large data set that will be delivered in batches. The data will be written to cloud storage and processed by custom applications running on compute engine instances. They want to process the data as quickly as possible when it arrives and are willing to pay the cost of running up to 10 instances at a time. When a batch is finished, they would like to reduce the number of instances to 1 until the next batch arrives. The batches don't arrive on a known schedule. How would you recommend that they provision compute engine instances? So guys, I know this is very lengthy question. Okay, option A is use a cloud function to monitor StackDriver matrices, add instances when CPU utilization peaks, and remove them when demand drops. Is incorrect because cloud functions are for event-driven processing, not continually monitoring matrices. Option B, use a script running on one dedicated instance to monitor StackDriver matrices, add instances when CPU utilization peaks, and removes them when demand drops. Is also incorrect because it's not the most efficient way to scale instances. Okay, option C, use managed instance group with a minimum of 1 instance and a maximum of 10. This is correct answer because a managed instance group will provision instances as required to meet the load and stay within the bound set for the number of instances. Okay, just look at the option D. Use cloud data proc with an auto scaling policy set to have a minimum of 1 instance and a maximum of 10. This is not suitable for this question since the requirement call for compute engine instances, not a Hadoop or not a Spark cluster. Okay, that's why option D is incorrect. Next question. You are running a high performance computing application in a managed instance group. You notice that the throughput of one instance is significantly lower than that for other instances. The poorly performing instance is terminated and another instance is created to replace it. What feature of managed instance group is at work here? Option A, auto scaling, option B, auto healing, option C, redundancy, and option D, eventual consistency. Okay, so here option A, auto scaling, is incorrect because auto scaling adds or removes instances based on instance matrices. Okay, option B, auto healing, is correct because auto healing uses a healthy check function to determine whether an application is functioning correctly or not, and if not, the instance is replaced. Okay, so option B is correct here. Now option C, redundancy, is not correct because redundancy is a feature of instance groups, but it's not the mechanism that replaces poorly performing nodes. Okay, option D, eventual consistency, is also incorrect because eventual consistency describes a model for storing writes in a way that they will eventually be visible to all queries. That's why here correct answer is option B, auto healing. Next question. A new engineer in your group asks for your help with creating a managed instance group. The engineer knows the configuration and the minimum and maximum number of instances in the MIG. MIG is what? Managed instance groups. What is the next thing the engineer should do to create the desired managed instance groups? Here, option A, create each of the initial members of the instance group using Google Cloud Compute Instance Create commands. And option B, create each of the initial members of the instance group using the Cloud Console. They both are incorrect because there is no need to create each instance individually in this question. Okay. Option C, create an instance template using the Google Cloud Compute Instance Templates Create command. This option is correct in this question because defining an instance template using the Google Cloud Compute Instance Templates Create commands. Okay, and option D, create an instance template using the cbt create instance template command is also incorrect here because cbt is the command line utility for working with Cloud Bigtable. Okay, next question. Your team is migrating applications from running on bare metal servers and virtual machines to running in containers. You would like to use Kubernetes engines to run those containers. One member of the team is unfamiliar with Kubernetes and doesn't understand why they cannot find a command to deploy a container. How would you describe the reason why there is no deploy container command? Here, option A. Kubernetes uses ports as the smallest deployable unit, and ports have usually one but possibly multiple containers that are deployed as a unit. This option A, is correct here because Kubernetes uses ports as the smallest deployable unit. Okay, that's why here option A is correct. Option B, Kubernetes uses deployments as the smallest deployable unit and ports have usually one but possibly multiple containers that are deployed as a unit. And option C, Kubernetes uses replicas as the smallest deployable unit and ports have usually one but possibly multiple containers that are deployed as a unit. They both are incorrect here because deployments and replicas are Kubernetes abstractions, but they are not used as the mechanism for logically encapsulating containers. That's why option B and option C, they both are discarded here. Option D, Kubernetes calls containers ports and the command to deploy is kubectl deploy port. This also incorrect since ports and containers are not synonyms. Okay, that's why option D is incorrect. So here correct answer is option A. Okay, now next question. A Kubernetes administrator wants to improve the performance of an application running in Kubernetes. They have determined that the 4 replicas currently running are not enough to meet demand and want to increase the total number of replicas to 6. The name of the deployment is myapp 1 to 3. What command should they use in this case? Option A, command is kubectl scale deployment, then myapp-123 double dash replica 6. Option A is correct here because the kubectl scale deployment command specifying the desired number of replicas is the correct command. Okay. Option B, kubectl scale deployment myapp-123 replicas 2 is incorrect here because since this would set the number of replicas to 2. Okay, but question is asking about replicas 6. Okay, so that's why here correct answer is option A. Now just look at option C and option D. They both are incorrect because there is no Google Cloud Containers Scale Deployment command. And option C and option D, अगर आप ध्यान से देखें तो इन दोनों में Google Cloud Containers Scale Deployment mention है. Okay, that's why they both are discarded. Okay, so best answer here is option A, kubectl scale deployment myapp-123 double dash replica 6. Now next question. A Google Cloud Bigtable instance with one cluster is not performing as expected. The instance path created for analytics data is continuously streamed from thousands of sensors and statistical analysis programs run continually in a batch. What would you recommend to improve performance in this case? Option A, use a write optimized operating system on the nodes. Option B, use a read optimized operating system on the nodes. They both are not suitable in this case because you don't specify the operating system used in Bigtable. Okay, so option A and option B, they both are discarded here. Now option C. add a cluster, run batch processing on one cluster and have writes routed to the other cluster. Option C is correct because using two clusters with one dedicated for receiving write operations and the other responsible for batch processing. Okay. So here correct answer is option C. Add a cluster, run batch processing on one cluster and have writes routed to the other cluster. Okay, now option D. Add another node pool to the cluster in each zone that already has a node pool or that cluster is not suitable in this case because a cluster can't have multiple nodes pool in the same zone. Okay, that's why option D is incorrect. Here, correct answer is option C. Now, next question. A cloud data proc cluster is running with a single master node. You have determined that the cluster needs to be highly available. How would you increase the number of master nodes to 3? Option A. Use the Google Cloud Data Proc cluster update command with parameter --num-masters 3. Option B. Use the Google Cloud Data Proc cluster state update command with parameter --add masters 2. They both are incorrect because there is no --num masters or --add masters parameter in the Google Cloud Data Proc cluster update command. That's why option A and option B, they both are discarded. Now option C. Use the CBT Data Proc clusters update command with parameter --add masters 2. Is also incorrect here because CBT is the command for line utility for working with Cloud Bigtable. Okay. Now option D. The number of master nodes cannot be changed. A new cluster would have to be deployed with 3 master nodes. Is correct for this question because the number of masters node cannot be changed. Okay, and a new cluster would have to be deployed with 3 master nodes. That's why option D is correct here. Now next question. You have provisioned a Kubernetes engine cluster and deployed an application. The application load varies during the day and you have configured auto scaling to add replicas when CPU utilization exceeds 60%. How is that CPU utilization calculated? Option A, based on all CPUs used by the deployment. Option A is correct for this question because the total CPU utilization by the deployment is used as the basis for making scaling decisions. That's why option A is correct. Now just look at option B, based on all CPUs in the cluster is incorrect because some CPUs in the cluster may be used by other deployments. That's why option B is discarded. Option C, based on all CPU utilization of the most CPU intensive pod based on the CPU utilization of the least CPU intensive pod. They both are incorrect here because the decision is based on the overall utilization, not any individual pod. That's why option C and option D, they both are incorrect here. And here correct answer is option A, based on all CPUs used by the deployment. Now next question. A team of data scientists wants to run a Python application in a Docker container. They want to minimize operational overhead, so they decide to use App Engine. They want to run the application in a Python 3.4 environment. Which configuration file would they modify to specify that runtime? Option A, app.yaml is correct answer here because app.yaml is the configuration file used to specify the runtime. Okay, that's why option A is correct. Now just look at option B, q.yaml is incorrect because q.yaml is used to configure task queues. Okay, not to be configured file to specify the runtime. Okay, now option C, dispatch.yaml is also incorrect because dispatch.yaml is used to override routing rules. Now option D, cron.yaml is also incorrect here because cron.yaml is used to schedule tasks. Okay, that's why here correct answer is option A, app.yaml. Now, next question. Your team is experimenting with cloud functions to build a pipeline to process images uploaded to cloud storage. During the deployment stage, you want to avoid sudden spikes in cloud functions use because of errors in other parts of the pipeline, particularly the test code that uploads test images to cloud storage. How would you reduce the risk of running large numbers of cloud functions at one time? Option A, use the double dash limit parameter when deploying the function, is incorrect because double dash is not a parameter used with function deployments. Okay, so option A is discarded. Option B, use the double dash max instances parameter when deploying the function, is correct because the double dash max dash instances parameter limits the number of concurrently executing function instances. That's why option B is correct. Now just look at option C. Set a label with the key max instances and the value of the maximum number of instances, is incorrect because labels are not used to control configuration of functions. Okay. Option D, set a language specific parameter in the function to limit the number of instances, is also incorrect here because language specific parameters are not used to configure cloud functions. That's why option D is also discarded here. So here correct answer is option B. Use the double dash max instances parameter when deploying the function. Next question. Audit control requirements at your company require that all logs be kept for at least 365 days. You prefer to keep logs and log entries in StackDriver logging. But you understand that logs with predefined retention period of less than 1 year will require you to set up and export to another storage system, such as cloud storage. Which of the following logs would you need to set up exports for to meet the audit requirements? Option A, audit activity audit logs. And option B, system events audit logs. Option C, access transparency logs. They are incorrect here because they all have 400-day retention period. Okay, that's why here correct answer is option D, that is data access audit logs. Because data access logs have a 30-day data retention period. Okay, so here correct answer is option D. Next question. You would like to collect data on the memory utilization of instances running in a particular managed instance group. What StackDriver service would you use? Option A, StackDriver Debugger. StackDriver Debugger is incorrect in this case because StackDriver Debugger is used to inspect the state of running code. Okay, option B, StackDriver Logging, is also incorrect because StackDriver Logging is used to collect a semi-structured data about events. Now, option C, StackDriver Monitoring. StackDriver Monitoring is correct answer here because StackDriver Monitoring collects performance matrices. Okay, that's why option C is correct. Now just look at option D, StackDriver Trace. StackDriver Trace is also incorrect for this question because StackDriver Trace is used to collect information about the time required to execute functions in a call stack. Okay, so StackDriver Trace is a different thing. In this question, we will use StackDriver Monitoring Service. Okay, now next question. You would like to view information recorded by an application about events prior to the application crashing. What StackDriver service would you use? So here option A, StackDriver Debugger, is incorrect because StackDriver Debugger is used to inspect the state of running code. Okay, as you know very well. Option B, StackDriver Logging, is correct here Because StackDriver logging is used to collect a semi-structured data about any events. That's why option B is correct. Just look at option C, StackDriver monitoring is not suitable for this question because StackDriver monitoring is used to collect performance matrices. Okay, option D, StackDriver trace is not correct here because StackDriver trace is used to collect information about the time required to execute function in a call stack. Now, next question. Customers are complaining of long waits while your e-commerce site processes orders. There are many microservices in your order processing system. You would like to view information about the time each microservice takes to run. What StackDriver service would you use in this case? Option A, StackDriver Debugger is incorrect because StackDriver Debugger is used to inspect the state of running code, as you know very well. Option B, StackDriver Logging is not suitable for this question because StackDriver logging is used to collect semi-structured data about any events. Now option C, StackDriver monitoring is incorrect here because StackDriver monitoring is used to collect performance matrices. Now look at option D, StackDriver trace is correct for this question because StackDriver trace is used to collect information about the time required to execute functions in a call stack. Okay. So here correct answer is option D, StackDriver trace. Okay. Now next question. You have created a test environment for a group of business analysts to run several cloud data flow pipelines. You want to limit the processing resources any pipeline can consume. What execution parameter would you specify to limit processing resources? Option A, num workers is incorrect because num workers is the initial number of workers. That's why option A is discarded. Option B, max num workers is correct for this question because max num workers means maximum number of workers, specifies the maximum number of instances that can be run for a cloud data flow pipeline. That's why here best answer is option B, max num workers. Now just look at option C, streaming. Streaming is other thing and is incorrect here because streaming specifies whether streaming mode is enabled or not. That's why streaming is discarded. Option D, max resources is also incorrect because it's not an actual parameter in Google Cloud. That's why option B, max num workers is correct here. Okay guys, now let's wind up the session. See you in the next video. Till now, bye bye, have a good day and make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos and next chapters, question and answers. Okay, thank you.